Today's podcast is sponsored by Key & Kin. Are you planning a visit for family or friends? Skip the hassle and book with Key & Kin, Beaver County's top short-term rental provider. Their hand-picked Airbnb properties offer modern finishes, warm personal touches, and exceptional service. From a single night to a few weeks, unlock a perfect stay in Beaver County and beyond with Key & Kin.
Me.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Enthralled for our next episode, and we're still in our Resilient series that we've been in for, I'd say a couple weeks, I guess. I just want to read our scripture. Let the king be enthralled by your beauty, honor him for he is your Lord, Psalms 45:11. So I have Antionette here. I'll let you introduce yourself in a minute. And I always like to think about how Antionette has been like a newer friend. Mm-hmm. She moved to the neighborhood, and actually, yeah, it was a cool story of how we met. Like, I saw you at church once, and God literally put you on my heart. Mm-hmm. I probably told you this story, but like I prayed with you, and I had never had this happen to me before, but I literally had, like, God was like, you need to connect with her. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't want to just, whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyways, and I remember reaching out to you, and we were like, oh, yeah, we'll get together. And then I was at the pool with my friend, I don't know, a few months after that, or maybe even a year. I don't know, it was a while. And she's like, hey, I know this girl that moved to your neighborhood. And I'm like, oh, really? Who is it? And she's like, oh, her name's Antionette. I was like, what? I was like, she lived in Patterson?
It was White Township.
Okay, yeah. And it was just so funny. And I was like, okay, now we're going to hang out.
Yes, because we didn't make it happen, so God made it happen by putting me in this neighborhood.
I could not believe. When she told me, I was like, are you sure it's the same person? Because I was like, that's not there. Yeah, and then, then I saw you at Trick or Treat, I think.
Yes.
And then, we connected after that. But anyways, but I'll let you introduce yourself because people always do a better job at telling us about themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Antionette. I am a single mom. I have a 6-year-old son. I have a full-time job at the courthouse.
Yeah.
And I also just recently picked up a part-time job at a local bar restaurant place.
You're doing it all.
Trying.
I don't know how you do all those things.
You do a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, but like such different roles too. Like probably, which would be fun. Like you have a desk or a job that you really sit, and then one you run around like crazy.
Yeah, no,
right?
You're right. It's a good balance.
Mixing it up a bit,
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's fun. So today, as we were in the Resilient series, I was just telling her before we came on that I thought it was interesting as I started like piecing all the people I've had on. Mm-hmm. We had a common denominator of we've all lost our moms.
Yes.
And so, and it wasn't planned that way, which I think I know God does. He does these things, but so, and you and I think we're just talking a little bit about, and we'll get into it a lot more here, but how the two people I had on before, they lost their moms and had like a really great, close relationship with their moms. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you and I both kind of were in agreement that we had a little bit of a different childhood in the fact of our moms were there but not really there, maybe. Mm-hmm. And you're going to tell us more about your story, obviously. But and you lost your mom a lot earlier than I lost mine, so that's another big piece to your puzzle. But but my first question for you is, how old were you when you lost your mom, and like what do you remember of that time? And also you told me where you grew up, which I thought was super cool, so you can tell us where that was too.
So first I want to thank you for having me come on here and making me feel like what I have to say is worthy for other people to hear, if that makes sense. So I just first want to thank you for that, and I appreciate you seeing that in me, even though I don't see it in myself.
And I'm grateful that you said yes, because most people, a lot of people will be like, no, and you probably did at the beginning too. I was like, yeah, you do.
Yeah. I don't know, like part of me, because at first I was like, I don't really, not that I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want to. I just don't feel like I said before this started, like I just don't feel like maybe anybody would care. Or, you know, I don't really like talking about myself too much because it's just a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. There's some people that love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
But most people, I feel like, are where you're at. We think we don't. We all have a story, right? And that's what this whole podcast is really about.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody has a story. But we don't realize that our story can be a help to somebody else, and maybe not even somebody we will ever know, or even that I'll ever know, or even know that they ever listen, or you'll ever, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
We don't know.
Yep.
But
totally,
God does. So
and that's true.
Asked me to ask you for a reason,
and he told me to say yes. So
you did. So there we go.
Okay, so I was 16 when my mom passed away, and so she passed away in December of 2006.
Okay.
So that would have made me, I think, like a junior in high school, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you, sister?
Yeah, so I have an older sister.
Older sister, yeah.
Yeah, so she lives in Florida.
Okay.
I can kind of give you like a little bit of the story of how all that happened.
And also, you grew up in Florida, too.
I did a little bit of my growing up in Florida, So my sister and I, well, we'll start with my parents. But my mom was from Puerto Rico, and my dad is full-blooded Italian from New Jersey.
Yeah.
So my mom ended up in New Jersey, and that's how my parents met. And then...
were they young when they met?
Yes, they were young.
Yeah.
So I think my mom and dad were probably like 21, 22 when they had us.
Okay.
And so, so they met in New Jersey, and then they had us, and then a few years after that, we moved here to Pennsylvania.
Okay. What brought you here?
My dad's job.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And my sister and I were trying to figure it out. Like, when we first moved here, where did we live? We bounced around from house to house to house because my parents didn't have a good relationship. So they were like constantly separating, and then we would move out, or my dad would move out, and I just remember like bouncing around a lot, living in like a lot of different houses.
Okay.
So they eventually ended up getting divorced, which was a rough divorce. There was a whole, the whole custody battle and stuff that I remember. And so whenever they finally divorced, my mom took me and my sister to Florida, which is where some of my mom's family was living at the time.
And your dad stayed here?
And my dad stayed here, yeah. And so we moved to Florida, and I lived there for about 5 years, I think. So I moved there. I have all the ages and years and dates and everything. I have no idea.
Yeah.
My memory's so bad.
Well, and also you were young, like, cause I will say my mom was one good thing. I was just joking with somebody the other day. I was like, she could remember, like, dates.
Yeah.
And, like, she was very good in particular with, like, things like that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I lost her when I was older, but it was always like, where's my dad? He's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's what's hard, too, because I'm sure you think back and you're like, I remember going here, and doing this and that, but I can't
it's all like a blur, kind of. Yeah, and I was talking to my sister about it yesterday to try to, like, get the timeline right.
Yeah.
We did a little bit, but, I mean, I don't think it's really relevant anyway.
It's just, like, kind of interesting for yourself, probably, too. But,
so we lived there for a few years, and my sister and I would come back to Pennsylvania every summer to visit my dad.
Okay.
And then one summer, whenever we were here, for one, I didn't like living in Florida.
Okay.
My mom was very sick all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't have any friends. It was miserable. I didn't like being there.
Yeah.
And whenever I came here to visit my dad, I had like all these friends, and when you're that age, like that's what's important to you.
Yeah.
All these friends, and my dad would do stuff with us.
Yeah.
So I liked being here.
Yeah. Okay.
And so one summer when my sister and I were here, I just decided that I wanted to stay, that I didn't want to go back to Florida.
Okay.
And so I remember telling my dad that, and he, that's like a big deal.
Yeah.
And, like, the courts are involved, and he has to figure it out. But it ended up happening. I just never went back to Florida. I ended up staying here.
Okay.
And then I started my 9th grade.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
And then I've been here ever since.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So you lived, and then your sister stayed there.
Yeah, my sister went back.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so tell us about your mom and her sickness. So you said you kind of always remember her being sick.
Yes.
Like
so my mom had lupus, which is an autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. And it basically is your immune system attacks your tissue and your organs. Mm-hmm. So it can affect like your brain, your heart, your kidneys, your skin, joints.
Yeah.
So my mom had severe arthritis. Mm-hmm. She had kidney failure to the point where she had to be on dialysis.
Okay.
So I never remember a time where she wasn't sick or, wasn't in pain.
Yeah.
The arthritis was really bad.
Yeah.
So my whole childhood she was sick, and
that's probably, I mean, you wonder, but when you live in pain too,
yeah,
she probably couldn't see herself outside of like the pain of it,
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah,
that would be hard.
Yeah, I mean, looking back now from like an adult perspective, I can see they were young parents also on top of it. My mom was very, I don't know how to say, like, not obsessed with her disease, but it was almost as if like she enjoyed the attention that she got from being sick.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. She was sort of self-absorbed in that way. And then, with that kind of, my sister and I were like brushed off to the side. Yeah. And then before that, like the relationship between my mom and dad was so bad that that's kind of what they were focused on.
Yeah.
So like my whole life, I kind of always felt like not a priority. So, and that sort of like hasn't really ever changed.
Yeah.
It's been that way for a while. Yeah. But so she was sick my whole life and in and out of hospitals. My sister and I were always in the hospital with her. She didn't really get to do stuff. We didn't get to do stuff with her like we would see other kids and their moms doing, because she was always in pain. And so she was prescribed morphine for her pain. And I didn't realize like how crazy that was back then. And then I realized now, like, to be prescribed morphine is...
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she would abuse it. She would take a little more than she was supposed to. And I joke around about it because I think that's the way that my sister and I cope with it. Like, we just make jokes. We're like, remember that time when when Mommy was driving the car and she, like, fell asleep? And we had to, like... But it was every time. Every time she would be in the car, she drove, like, this stick shift. Yeah. And she would, like, start to nod off because she was... on too much medication. Yeah. And so my sister would constantly have to like grab the wheel and make sure we were on the road. Or she would be laying in bed smoking cigarettes and
fall asleep or something.
And she would fall asleep and all of her comforters always had like burn holes in them from the cigarettes. Yeah. Yeah. So we were always like on like
you probably lived on edge all the time.
Yeah. And that has stuck with me my entire life. That feeling of like always being, from my parents, fighting and as like toxic as it was, because I won't even get into all of it, but it was pretty bad. Yeah. Being hyper aware of that, and then hyper aware of like my mom's disease and her abuse of the medication. Yeah. Yeah. That hyper awareness has stuck with me my entire life. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that would, and it's amazing, like, you think as a kid how you... And now, like you said, as an adult, but you think back to when you were a kid. Or, like, I think it was something that always hit me with when I had my own kids. I was like, oh, my gosh, you're so thankful that they don't have to feel what you felt as a kid. Yeah. And they don't even know what that even feels like.
Exactly.
Or, like, when your kids complain about this or that, you're like, you just don't even have a clue.
Right.
And not that you want them to.
Yeah. Yes.
But I've often thought of that, too. Like, I remember as a kid, I had stomach issues all the time. And they never really could figure out why. And I was like, or being scared of everything. And things like I just, like, have often thought of my kids. I'm like, they don't really get scared at night, or they don't really this or that. And I'm like... It's just because they probably feel okay and they feel safe.
Yeah, their nervous system.
Whereas, like me, I didn't realize like I was living in that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure that was very similar to your case too.
Yeah.
That you just always felt like you had to be alert.
Yes.
Or be like, what's going to happen next?
Absolutely.
How much older is your sister than you?
She is 2 years older than me.
So she might remember a little bit more.
And she does. So I always refer to her whenever I have a question about something, or even with this, I've been talking to her on the phone all day yesterday, answering these questions together. Because my memory is really bad. Yeah. And also,
well, sometimes though you block. That's the other thing too. Like I think sometimes we block it out because we don't want to remember it.
Yes.
Things like that are not good. We can block it out because we're just like,
yeah.
I always
wonder. That's a question I ask myself. I'm like, okay, have I blocked it out because it was so traumatic, or have I just healed from it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell the difference.
I know. It could. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
How did your sister feel when you moved up here? How did that go?
So,
because you guys, I imagine, were pretty close.
Yeah, we were
with
close,
kids,
but you know,
or you did your own thing.
We fought a lot, but not a lot, like just like sisters do.
Yeah.
But I think maybe I don't really know. That's funny. It's a good question. I never really asked her.
Because you said you were in 9th grade, so she'd have been 11th, I guess.
Yeah.
Did she have like friends down in Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say that me moving here and not going back to Florida, her and I discussed this yesterday, was the best decision that I could have made.
Okay.
Because when she went back to Florida, it was only like maybe 2 years after I decided to stay here that my mom ended up passing away.
Okay.
So I know that when she went back, I think things just went downhill.
Yeah.
And I hate to think that that had anything to do with me staying here. I don't know. There's a little bit of regret that I have with that, but
I mean, I'm sure her disease was going to kill her.
Yeah. It was. But
and also if she was doing things that, taking more medication than she was supposed to and things like that I'm sure that progressed.
Absolutely.
The disease.
Yeah, so then with that, like, my sister had a hard time with her in her final years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do know that.
So I was just thinking of the timeline here. So your sister would have been not that old. If you said you were 18.
Oh, 16? I was 16, so my sister would have been, like 18.
So did she just go and live on her own then, or what happened with her? Because she would have been, I guess, old enough at 18, but...
Yeah, I want to say that she started dating someone who ends up being the father of her oldest son now. Yeah. So I think that's what happened. I think they just connected, and then thank God she had a place to...
Yeah, because I was just thinking at 18, that would be... 18, you become an adult.
Yeah.
But, like, an adult in the fact of, like... Yeah, just go be by yourself. And losing your mom would be...
Absolutely. She didn't... There wouldn't have been anybody else to take her in down there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, thank God she had someplace to go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot that you went through as a child. So maybe we're going to talk a little bit about now after that. How has your grief changed or evolved over the years? So I'm guessing when you were 16 to how you look at it now would be different. Where do you think you went through like spots when you were like upset, angry?
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing as a child, and even now, I mean, adults could feel that way still.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to start to get emotional now, so
you can get
just bear with me.
We brought tissues in case this happens. Because I told you there's people that, I mean, not every time, but quite often.
Yeah, I'm emotional. I'm a crier, so I don't have any shame in it. I just want to.
But I tell people all the time that actually, I think crying is a good thing. I went through a very long period of my life, and I don't want to say I never cried, but I very rarely cried.
Yeah.
Even after losing my mom, I remember, it sounds crazy, and I might have already told this story before, but I remember I was like, I know I should be like crying.
Yeah.
And I went to therapy a couple of times, and it was fine and whatever. But I was like, you know what? I think I could, because I love to run down Beaver and on River Road. Mm-hmm. I feel like it was kind of my therapy for my own self. Yeah. And it was free. And so I would like go run down River Road, and there's like a bench at the end, and I would go sit. Yeah. And I would sit there and be like, okay, I need to cry. It sounds so silly. And
Crying like, turned on.
Yes, like literally that's what I do. I'll be like, okay. And then I would cry or whatever, get emotional, and then I'd like run back. And then I felt so much better. Yes. And I never could understand how, I guess I shouldn't say I couldn't understand, because I understood, but I just personally couldn't just like cry.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I say to people very often, like, and now I think God has definitely been working my heart, because I find myself crying more now, whether good things or bad things.
Yeah.
But I think it's a healthy thing to do. Yeah. Whereas some people, because then some people hold it in so much that they don't let it out. And that's not healthy either.
Oh yeah, that makes you sick.
So anyway, it's fine to cry.
Yeah. Well, now it's gone.
But I figured I didn't plan that, but that worked well.
Okay, so what was the question?
The question was just like, how did you think you dealt with grief as a child at 16? Or even I mean, I'm sure we were talking about this a little bit earlier too, is that grieving, having a mom there for you, even before she passed, you probably didn't realize you were actually grieving that too.
Absolutely.
But when she passed, to kind of how you deal with grief now, looking back. But I mean, like, how would you say it's like? How is it then? How's it now? Maybe how's it changed?
Right. So back then, it was always. I mean, and I say back then, but like I still struggle with it now a little bit. But
and it could be similar to what it was then, maybe, you know.
Yeah. Back then, it was always why me. Okay. It was always why me? Like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah. Quick question before you get into that. I just had this thought, not to take you off, but like, so your dad, how did he deal with your mom? Like, because I'm thinking that would, if you were here living with him, that would have probably played a piece of that too, right?
Yeah.
Did he?
So they were divorced at the time, but yeah, my dad was devastated because. Okay. I mean, I would say that as like tumultuous and as toxic and, you know, whatever words, as their relationship was, I mean my mom was maybe my dad's like love of his life, maybe.
Well, and also just like knowing that's the mother of his children, you know, like even though you hear that often that. Yeah, maybe they didn't love, like, he probably still loved her in a certain way.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was devastating for him. Mm-hmm. But I don't really know too much about that.
Yeah.
But back then, for grief, it was always why me. Anytime something bad would happen, I would just feel sorry for myself, you know?
I mean, that would be pretty normal feelings, I would imagine.
Yeah, because you know what? Like, I grew up in church whenever I was in Florida. My mom would take us to church.
I wanted to ask you about that, actually, if you grew up, okay.
Yeah, so my mom would take us to church.
Okay.
But that was only for, like, maybe the 5 years of my life whenever I was living in Florida. Okay. And then whenever I came back to Pennsylvania, I didn't go to church, nothing. I always, like, had faith. Like, I always believed in God.
Yeah.
So I always had that.
Yeah.
But when my mom died, I started that, like, why me mentality again. And I don't know how soon after, I don't know what the timeline was, but for a while I considered myself, I guess it would be like agnostic or, no, I don't want to say atheist because that sounds bad, but
you just didn't maybe know what to believe or believe in much of anything.
I told myself that God didn't exist.
Okay.
I told myself that God didn't exist because if he did, why would he have taken my mom?
Yeah.
You know?
That's a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, and especially being young, you know, that's not just how you rationalize it, I guess. So for a while, that's what I thought, and I just dealt with things myself. And looking back, like it just seemed dark. Like that time of my life just was really dark, and I struggled with hopelessness and not like what was the purpose for me being here. But I would say how it's changed now that I'm older, and now that I put my faith in God rather than just in myself. Is instead of saying why me, I just ask myself, what is the lesson here? You know,
that's
what am I supposed to learn? What is God strengthening in me? You know, for whatever's to come. And then that's just how I think about it, and it's like it takes a weight off of my shoulders.
Because I think yes, that did happen, and it was very hard. But also, even like being on this podcast, like you're telling this story because I'm sure I'm sure there could be people that listening that might be in that season where you were at. How many years ago now? I can't do math, but
neither can I.
Whenever you were in that dark season of like, God, if yes, it's a big question. I think a lot of people, whether you're Christian or not, is like, oh well, why did this happen? And if this did happen to me, like there's really no God that would
absolutely
care or let this happen, or you know what I mean? I think that's a very real question that a lot of people struggle with every day, whether it's a death or who knows, a sickness, or you know, it could be anything. But I think when you start to realize God loves you and he cares for you, and honestly, it's interesting how I was just talking about this in Bible study today. Is like, I don't understand how people can go through something so hard without Jesus, like knowing that Jesus is with them. Not that he's like yes, he can fix it and he can help you, but like just knowing he's there. So I think that would be so hard.
And it was.
Where you were like just being in that.
Like
I couldn't.
It makes all the difference.
Whether things are still hard and things, but you know, like he's the one person. Like when I look back at my life, I'm like, he's the one person that never left.
Absolutely.
You know, whether it's a parent or a friend or a boyfriend or I don't know, whatever, family, anybody, he's the one person that won't ever leave.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And he always has something better for you down the road.
Even though if in the moment
it doesn't feel
like that. We've all been in those seasons where you're like,
if you know God, then you know that detail.
Yeah.
And that will help you to get through the tough time that you're in right now.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I've been through, you know, my mom passed away, but, I mean, I've been through a lot of, like, not a lot, but a couple of really bad, like, failed relationships that broke my heart.
Yeah.
Almost just as bad as losing my mom.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, even with my latest one, I had to think about that a lot. Like, what is the lesson here? You know, why would God put me in this situation? I have to try to figure it out. But I do know, because I know God, He wouldn't put anything in my path that wasn't for a good reason. So to know that, it just, like I said, it just lifts a weight off of my shoulders a little bit. I'm still sad. Yeah. But I know that I'm going to get through it with him, and he's going to give me something better.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that I think as you're maturing as a Christian, as we all are every day, that's the hope, right? Yeah. But that we can learn his voice, and like, and your inward knowing that when the next thing, no, I shouldn't say thing, next person, that just sounded right. Like, well, I guess I'm saying person, or just like, the next thing in life, whether it's a person or a or a place or a job or I don't know, whatever. You like can. I tell people all the time when they say like, "Oh, I don't know God's voice, or I don't hear it." I'm like, "Well, I promise you, the more you fall, like it's just like an inward knowing, and it might just be a little inkling of like saying yes to a podcast or going here or going there. It could be the smallest little thing, but as you like continually keep doing what He's asking you to do, or pushing you a little bit out of your comfort zone." It's like, okay, I did this, and He was here with me here, then this and this and this, and then you'll start to realize, like, oh, okay, now maybe He put this person in my life, but like, or He did, or you start and you like, oh no, it might feel good, but this isn't what I feel like is peace about.
Yes, right? Yeah, I've learned that if I'm in a situation where I feel unsteady, I don't feel that peace, I'm constantly anxious about it, on edge. That's not for me. And you always know, like, deep down in your heart, you know.
Yes.
You
and sometimes
can lie
it feels
to
good in the moment, and so you're just like, oh, well, this is great.
Yeah.
But deep down, the more in tune you are with the Holy Spirit of, like, being in His Word and listening and surrounding yourself, or having people that surround you and help you, like, that's what will help you, because so those little voices that are not the right ones, you can tune them out better, or maybe not tune them out, like they become more aware, so you're like, oh no, this isn't from God, because maybe in the world it looks great, you know what I mean, but it's not, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Today's podcast is sponsored by Jubilee Cleaning. Jubilee Cleaning is the top-rated and most reviewed cleaning company in Beaver County, with over 420 5-star reviews. Their mission is simple: deliver a 5-star experience. They're passionate about providing freedom for their clients and allowing them to spend more time doing what matters most, building relationships. They serve both residential and commercial clients. Their entire team is mission-driven. Each member has a huge heart to serve their community, and they are so blessed to have the honor and privilege of taking care of your home. All right, well, let's see. So how do you choose hope when circumstances feel heavy? So we were just talking about, you've been through a lot of heavy things. So what, and I think we were kind of talking, and maybe I don't know if you have anything to add to it, but about like, knowing that God is the one that's always going to be there. Absolutely. Is there anything else that you would say like has made you, or helped you have hope in those dark seasons? Or even in your everyday season, really? Because we all have moments. Yeah, absolutely. Right? Not just big, long, dark seasons, but... Right, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just having the trust that God is going to get me through it. Yeah. And that's basically just as simple as it is. Yeah. You know? Like, I'm a human being. I'm still going to feel sad and feel terrible about what's happening. But I just know that He's going to get me through it. And... my sister and I were discussing the difference between like hope and faith, and are we supposed to hope for something, or are we just supposed to have faith that it's going to happen? So that's a question that we were asking. But I guess I just...
So I think just the scripture that came to mind is like, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So that's in Hebrew. So like, our faith is the things that we're hoping for.
Yeah.
But we can't see them yet.
Right. Okay. Yes.
So faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. So yeah, your like faith is what your hope, like what could be in your future. Okay. I guess is what
that makes sense.
I don't know. It just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Because they're both in there, both of those things. So I don't know if that helps you or not. But
it does.
Also, so you talked about being a mother, but I think we didn't talk much about how did that, like how did CJ, how old CJ?
6.
Which is your son now. Because from going from this dark season of losing your mom and being here to having a son, what was the time frame with that?
So my mom passed away when I was 16.
Okay.
And then I had that period of where like I was depressed, definitely depressed.
Yeah.
No hope, no, like I couldn't even see into my future. I never even imagined having kids.
Really?
Like I don't even know if I ever wanted to.
Yeah. Well, and some people that grow up in a home like you did, right? I don't know.
You don't want to because you're worried that you're going to be, you're going to repeat that cycle.
Yeah.
So I never even thought about it. That's something that I do. Like it's hard for me to like see too much into the future. So I had met my son's father, and at this point in my life, I was still just like up in the air, like not, I was still probably in that like agnostic phase, not really believing in anything. And I met him, and I'll talk about this a little bit because I don't mind, but I don't want to go too much into detail
for sure.
about him. But so on our first date, we went to like this little restaurant bar thingy, and I was just kind of getting to know him. And one of his main questions to me was, what's your relationship with Christ? Do you believe in God?
Yeah.
And I said, like, I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah.
But I did though. I always did.
You always had that deep down.
Always did.
But you probably really convinced yourself you didn't because you're probably like, why? Like you were in that mode of or thought of why would this happen then? Right?
Yeah, so exactly.
I'm sure. Yeah, like you said, it was deep down there. But you didn't
it was almost like I was like rebelling against. Against him.
Yeah.
But that's the way I portrayed myself. So I told him. I said I don't really know. I don't really believe in anything. And he basically was like, well, that's not going to work. You have to believe in God. Oh. And and it was easy for me to transition back into that because it was always there.
Yeah.
So, our relationship wasn't great.
Yeah.
But I am grateful for him for that aspect because I do believe
that's what kind of made you probably question that again.
Absolutely.
Or like
what he did,
what he said to you. Yeah.
And I think this is something in the Bible, or at least something that people say, is he gave me that mustard seed back.
Yeah.
And that's what did it for me.
Yeah.
And then, ever since then, it's been up and down, but I haven't ever like wavered too far away. You know what I mean?
That's good.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's probably like reigniting something in your heart of like, well, if I want to be with this boy, I mean, even if you think of it that way,
it worked.
It worked for that moment, right? Yeah. We don't know what God would. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Because if it might have been any other little seed, which who knows, it might not have got you to where you needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've noticed the theme in my life too, that God has put people in my life.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I felt so alone. Growing up, felt like, I had parents that didn't really care for me all that much, didn't really love me, didn't pay me no mind.
Yeah.
So God has been putting people in my life for a reason.
Yeah.
And then, maybe I make the mistake of like keeping them around too long, or, when things start to go sour, I have a tough time like letting go with them.
Yeah.
So then I'll like hang on for too long. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But God has
when it's maybe not healthy.
Absolutely.
certain reasons, you in your mind you're still
Yeah, but it's like God put them in my life for that reason, and then after that it's like, okay, like now it's time to move on.
Yeah.
But then I don't want to move on.
Yeah.
So
Change is hard.
Yes.
I mean, and yeah.
So
and
I will say, not to interrupt you, but
good.
I do have this like fear of regret. So I struggle to like make like big decisions or even little decisions, but I have a fear of regret because I think what it all stems down to is when whenever I decided to move back to Pennsylvania from Florida, it was only like 2 years after that my mom died, and I wasn't there when she passed away. I was working at Pizza Hut at the time when I was 16, and my sister had called me. This was the day that my mom passed away. My sister had called me and said that my mom had a heart attack and that she was going into the hospital. But honestly, I was like, oh, okay, like just let me know. Because it was so normal. That type of stuff was so normal for us. But again, like with that on edge feeling, I did always have like that on edge feeling of like anytime I got a phone call, it was like, okay, yes. And so she told me that she had a heart attack and she was in the hospital. And so I was just like, all right, keep me updated. So then that night, or a little bit later, my dad and I went to Olive Garden, and my sister was kind of like keeping us updated a little bit. But it like wasn't even that big of a deal to us. We're just going through our normal life. Because this was so normal. And then my sister sent me a text message while we were at Olive Garden. We had just ordered our food, and she basically was like, the nurses or the doctors are saying that she's probably not going to make it through the night. And I didn't know what to do. Prior to this point, I never had like a panic attack. I got nervous. I've been nervous my whole life. But that was the first time that I literally just walked out of the restaurant and I just started hyperventilating outside. And that was the first time that I ever had a panic attack. And then so my dad ended up coming, out after me, and we were driving a little bit, and he pulled into, I don't know, it was like a car wash or something, because he got a phone call. And he walked behind the car wash, took the phone call, and I was still sitting in the car, and whenever he was walking back to the car, instead of walking to the driver's seat, he walked over to the passenger seat. Good. So he told me to get out of the car, and then he told me. That was hard. I think that's pretty sad, but
that would be very hard and very like a reasonable feelings that you were feeling, even if you didn't feel like you were close with your mom at that, like still your mom, right?
Like, going back to that like feeling of regret, you know, I'm just like helpless here, you know, and then I had touched on it a little bit before, you know, like how would the circumstances have been different if I didn't decide to come back to Pennsylvania? Like, if I stayed in Florida, would she have found the strength to keep pushing? You know what I mean? But I don't.
Well, you know, I look at that. It's a little. I feel like it's a similar in the fact of like my mom didn't ever. In the way of like she didn't want to ever get better for herself. So I think. I mean, my prayer for her was always that she would, like, she knew who Jesus was, I think, but she didn't ever get to, like, truly get to experience his love enough to realize, like, what she could do to change her life. But I think it might have been in the fact of, like, if she couldn't, like, she wasn't going to change, like, you weren't going to be the one to change her, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, like, you can't hold that regret to yourself because it's just like if you did this or didn't do this, like it had to be her. It had to be her choice. And I'm guessing that. I mean, that's you know what I mean. Like I don't think you going there like that's not a regret you should hold on to. Like that's something that's gonna have to be that she chose for herself.
Absolutely.
Which is sad, you know. But
I mean, like she didn't take good care of herself either. I mean, she was smoking cigarettes. Over using her medication, and then she lived in Florida, which is I don't think that's a good place to live for people who have that disease because when you're in the heat, I think it
makes it worse.
Yeah, it makes it worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And ultimately, she just had no self-confidence in herself. And that's what I was just thinking about for you is like, I think the one thing is if you can continue to build your confidence in yourself, you're not going to, and this is something that everybody struggles with. And I think women, well, I say more, but then I don't know. Sometimes I see a lot of men too. But
I think we just talk about it more.
Yeah,
than men do.
yeah. I think men struggle with it too, but yeah, they're not as open. But I think if you work on yourself, like having confidence in yourself, you know, all these other things won't matter, right?
Yeah.
You'll start to see the world differently. Because I feel like that's what happened to me a few years ago when I just started to like. And not that I look at myself and I'm like, oh, I'm this perfect, confident person, because there's many things I would love to change about myself.
Yeah.
But you, like, ultimately know, this is what I tell people, when you ultimately know how much Jesus actually loves you, you yourself, that's when your confidence gets built. And it doesn't matter what people think about you or what has happened to you, because, yes, life is unfair. And, I mean, I have those thoughts almost every day.
Yeah.
Like, why is this or why is that? But it's like you have to replace those thoughts with truth. Like, instantly.
Absolutely.
You know, because you can quickly go down this really long rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Why me? Why did this happen? Why am I here?
Yeah,
but you have to, like, do it right away.
Like how we were talking about before, the power of words.
Yes.
I mean, the power of your thoughts.
Yes.
You know, and it's I think, like, normal human behavior to think, to lean more towards, like, negative thoughts. Yeah. And it's a job every day to, like, replace those with positive thoughts. And it's like something you have to, like, consciously do. Yeah. Like, and for me, like, almost every minute. Yes. You know?
And the more you do that, like, that's what I think I've seen is, like, it is hard in the beginning, but the more you do it and you do it and you do it and you do it, you'll start to realize you're doing it without realizing it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel like I do have a little bit more confidence in myself, or as a mom, or as a sister, or as a friend, or as a coworker, or whatever. And then you'll be like, so then all these things that come at you that aren't good, you will have the confidence to be like, nope, that's not for me.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes. Whereas before, or when we're weak, or maybe weak's not the best word, but when we're not, like, built up in that, and, like, the little things come and you automatically, like, not you, but just people, I'm saying, like, in general, you just, like,
resort to that why me.
Yeah. Because it's easier in the moment, but it's not easier in the long run.
Yeah, because it's like our natural. Yeah, it's just, like, natural for humans to be that way.
Yeah. So maybe going, like, I don't know, through this is like, so what do you think are some healthy habits that you daily have used as you're kind of been on this journey of maybe even finding your faith again and, like, getting closer to God, as, like, a mom, or you could take it however you want, but, like, what are some, like, healthy things that you think that you've been able to do, I guess, more recently to help build yourself up? Like, to somebody that maybe this is new to them, you know?
Yeah.
Like reading, or I don't know, whatever you...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie. Like, I would love to get into my Bible more. My friend actually bought me a Bible. She put, like, little tabs in it for me.
Oh, yeah. That's helpful.
Yeah, and so I started reading it. But, you know, it's really hard for me to focus. I have a tough time focusing, staying on track.
I think I have a little bit of that ADD.
Yeah, me too. So that's a little more complicated. That's why I wish that, like, let me know if you're going to do, like, a Bible study or anything like that, because I'll be
it's helpful to be, like, in it,
with a group, and but I would say if you're going through, like, a hard time in your life, is to just almost, like, flood yourself with God in any way. So, like, going to church. That's why I asked you the other day about, like, that worship night that I remember I was going to.
Like, finding ways that just, like, in community, right? I think community is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, like, I've been so blessed with God putting people in my life, because prior to me moving to this neighborhood, which I don't live here anymore, but I had 0 friends. I had no friends, and that's not even, like, I'm not being dramatic. I had no friends. Always had my sister, who's obviously my best friend, but
she doesn't live here.
She doesn't live here.
You can talk, but, like, you can't physically go hang out.
I didn't have any friends. And then I moved here, and I have made such, like, beautiful relationships with honestly so many women, and then, like, really to boil it down, like, just a few really, really good people in my life that have helped me so much, and I've only known them for a year and a half or something like that. So definitely finding people who have a good relationship with God, or at least are trying to, that can help boost you up in that way. And like I said, just flooding yourself with going to church if you can, listening to worship music, listening to like podcasts, or anything like that.
The Enthralled podcast is the best. I'm just kidding.
I wasn't going to say it.
I do actually, though. I do love, like, before I started a podcast, I'd say in the last couple of years I got really into listening to podcasts, because I agree in the fact of, yes, community, because I love community, I love people, but podcasting for me has been, or listening to podcasts, I should say, has been something so amazing, because I just tell my friends all the time, I'm like, do you realize there's so much wisdom in all these people out here? Not that you have to believe everything you hear, or you gotta be careful, you know what you're listening to. But there's so much wisdom that we can gain from, like, my favorite one that I've listened to forever is Focus on the Family. And it's just, like, it teaches you about being a parent, being a friend, it's just, like, family. So, you know what I mean? It's teaching you so much about all things, right? Parenting probably be the biggest one for me, that it teaches me a lot. But anyways, I'm just saying, like, there's so many things that we could put in our brain that is, like, good things rather than just
mindless.
Like, even now it's hard for me, because every time I get in my car I just have a podcast going, and my kids are always like, why do you always got this going? And whatever it is. But I do love worship music, and I do that too, like, but I just I think filling your brain and your time with things that are uplifting, because sometimes when we get in those hard seasons, you just want to sit there and you want to be miserable. I've been there, and you're like, I just want to be miserable today. I want to listen to miserable music, or I want to do this, or I want to just sit and be like, sit in my sorrow.
But when you have a child, especially like as a single mom,
you can't do that.
You can't. You don't, like, I mean, I've had some of the worst times of my life with my son right there. And I have an empty glass and I'm still pouring into him, and it's exhausting. But I refuse to ever let him feel like he's a burden to me, or that he's not wanted, or that even in like a moment that something is more important than him. I just, it's almost like a trauma response for me, because I felt that so much as a kid.
That was your whole childhood.
So, and now I'm like hyper aware of him, and if he's like talking to me, I'm constantly like, giving him my full attention. Because I never want him to feel like he's not important to me.
That makes sense. But it's also like, and as he gets older, the biggest thing that you can do for him is to continue to put God's word into him, because that's what that's something that, yes, you're going to be around and you're going to be with him, but like, you're not with him when he's at school. You're not with him and then that's what I think I've been starting to realize as my kids are getting older. I'm like, there's so many times of the day that I'm not with them. And so, like, I just pray, like, God's word that we've helped encourage them build. And ultimately, it's going to be their faith, Like, I'm not the one that can make decisions for them at wherever they're at in their life.
You have to establish that foundation for them. And I will say, I mean, maybe I'm doing a good job, because there's been times where, like, he'll bring God up, in conversation, and ask like these deep questions, and I'm like, ooh, you know what? I don't really know. But there's been a couple times, for like instance, he got to bring a book to school, like a book from our little library at home. And he chose the book God Gave Us Easter.
Aww.
This was like a couple months ago, so he's bringing like an Easter book to school
for your Christmas.
Exactly. And then just recently, I think it was for Valentine's Day, he brought home like a little paper, and like it had like a circle with like things stemmed out from it about like all the people that you love, or all the things that you love. And it was like mommy, daddy, food, water, and then our cat. And then he said God and Jesus.
Aww.
Oh, and it just melts my heart, because like, I always think, I don't think I'm doing a good job, or maybe I should be saying more, or maybe I should be getting him involved more in like youth groups, or something, or we try to pray as much as we can at night, but sometimes I forget. I'm not perfect. But it's little things like that he does, where I'm like, okay, I think we're good.
And he's getting it in there. And
that's
great. And that's what I would pray. That's why I pray for my kids every day, is like, that people would see Jesus in you.
Yeah.
Even because, and like I said, as they get older, there's going to be seasons. We've all been through seasons, and I'm sure my kids will go through those seasons too, where it's like, that maybe I don't feel like they're doing this or that they should, but ultimately we can't control them.
Absolutely.
They're going to make decisions on their own.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, we did so good here, but
I know, I had all these notes, and I haven't looked at it. But I probably missed so much stuff, though.
I know, but it's just what it's... The one question the last question I guess I'll ask you is, what would you say to someone who lost a parent young and is entering a new season of life? So maybe they lost a parent young, or maybe they're going through that now, or it doesn't even have to be a parent, it could be something that lost somebody. It could have been a while ago too, but is there anything you would encourage them with to just keep pushing and keep going, I guess? 'Cause you've had to do that a lot in your life by yourself.
Yes.
Right?
And I did a lot of it by myself.
That's why you're in the resilient series, because you're resilient in that way.
Yeah.
When people just like you said, you've had moments of weakness, which anybody would, but what would you say to encourage them?
Yeah,
just keep going.
It's funny because I feel like I'm the wrong person to give anybody words of encouragement or advice or wisdom, because I don't feel like I'm at my, I don't know how to say it, I'm not quite at the end of the tunnel here. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But think about how far you've come,
Absolutely.
as a mom, as a kid that didn't really have parents much around.
Yeah.
Then at 16 you lose your mother, and then you move if you actually think of the timeline of your life, you've done a pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of people that could have been doing a lot worse things than you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and how we talked about breaking the cycles.
Yes,
I could have fallen into a cycle myself, and I refuse to let that happen.
Yeah.
Now I guard my peace, with everything that I can, because I just don't want that disrupted ever again.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I would just tell somebody, it's hard, because, I don't know what you would say to somebody when they're grieving.
Yeah.
You don't want to say, it's with
okay.
time,
it'll,
with time you'll get better. But just...
Maybe what we were talking about earlier, too, is, finding places or things to surround yourself with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Community.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, community, good friends, find somebody in the church. I always find myself gravitating towards, older women or, motherly type women, because I obviously, for obvious reasons,
for sure.
I didn't have that. So if you could find somebody like that to have lunch with every week or so. And, just pray, find good people. And it is true, though. It sounds so cliche. Time heals all wounds, whatever. But, it is true. Just with time, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
And God wouldn't give you anything that, for one, you can't handle, and for two, that He's not going to give you a bigger blessing down the road.
Yeah.
And just to keep your head up and forward.
That's great. I think that's a great way to end, but great advice, because we're all going to go through a season where I think that's why I think I love community, because even if you feel like you don't have a lot of community, you have some people in your life, and you got to do the hard work when you're in a good season to build your community.
Yes.
This is what I tell people all the time, because when you're going through a hard season, you have those people to help you out of that hard season. Because so many people, I think, get to this really hard season, you're like, where's all my friends at? And where's all this? It's well, they're there, right? But also, being able to build them up and build yourself up. Yeah. Because when the hard seasons come, that's when we need the people.
Yeah, and I keep saying, God put these women that I've met in this neighborhood in my life because, obviously everybody's going to go through hard stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But he knew that something was coming, and I needed them.
Yeah.
I relied on them a lot, because I have my sister, but that's it. I don't have a relationship with my father anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously my mother's passed away. I don't have a relationship with any of their family.
Yeah.
So I'm just out here doing my thing. I went to I came
Thanksgiving,
to your...
I loved it.
Everyone was like, oh, hi, who are you?
They're pretty used to it, though, because our family's always like, oh, we just invite whoever.
Yeah, so now I just go to, friends' houses for... My other friend who lives here, and, all of my friends have invited me over to their house for holidays and stuff, but yeah, God has put these women in my life because I didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
And the most recent difficult time, I would not have been able to get through without them.
Yeah.
And that's really the lesson that, or the blessing that I've taken from the situation is now I have these beautiful friends who have children that my son is friends with, and I do feel like I have that community that I have longed for so long. And now I have it. It's almost like I am creating, or God is giving me this little family that I've always wanted.
Yeah. That's so good. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because when we're being positive and we're looking at through positive things, it's hard to the negative. I mean, the negative will still come in and you'll still have those little thoughts, but to keep your minds focused on the good things.
Definitely.
Right. Is I think always helpful.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing. You did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
See, you're not even nervous anymore.
Yes, I am.
I tell people all the time, like, you'll be really nervous in the beginning, and then we'll just start chatting, and here we are. We're 55 minutes in, and you did a great job.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys all for joining us today, and make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media, and join us again next time.